Do you think being as competitive as this sport is, showing Arabian horses, like anything, we tried to reinvent or raise the bar, and that might possibly be just a trap that we put ourselves in?
Well, see, I don't know. It's kind of a catch-22. I mean, one, I don't think the class specs are defined well enough.
Okay.
I think there's too much latitude for the judges to kind of go where they want to and not be wrong.
Sure.
And it all ends up, which ones are the crowd pleasers, which ones have the most emotion, less about the way it bridles, whether it's a real pleasure horse or a country pleasure horse or a pleasure to ride, or it's about the excitement. So it boils down to the most exciting horse wins, and that's always the one that goes the fastest with the highest motion.
Yeah. Interestingly enough, when I think back at when the concept of developing the country pleasure division was being thought about, and it wasn't quite passed that was going to happen, there was a lot of opposition about doing it back then, and I was really surprised because just the little bit of knowledge that I had at the time, I clearly saw a need for those horses, a niche for those horses, and you're right. Over time, that division has dramatically changed, and I think because that has changed, it has also changed the other divisions. And that's something we got to work on.
I think definitely we've got to set more clear standards, and the judges have to be more accountable for staying to those standards.
Okay.
Right now you can't blame the judges because the standards are not very well defined.
Sure. Okay. The next question I have, and this might be a mouthful, if you took the Arabian horse industry and that was your own sole-owned business, the whole industry, and you were seeing where it's at today, and in the back of your mind, keeping something alive and keeping a business flourishing, where would you take the Arabian industry if it was your ball to run with? Where would you take it to the future?
For my industry, I would look to the long term. What are we trying to do? Are we trying to progress the Arabian breed? Are we trying to make it more popular?
Okay.
So that would be my objective, to make it more popular.
Okay.
So how do we do that? At this point, this industry, and the Arabian industry, is no different than the other show horse breeds. It's becoming too elitist.
Okay.
It takes too much money to come to these kind of shows. So many people are left out. They don't have activities that they can enjoy. The local show, God bless the volunteers that make those shows, but they're scratching, and the shows barely make the money because the people aren't exhibiting their horses. There's no audience.
Sure.
So if I were to redesign it, I would want it such that we get the grassroots back involved for the love of the horse, and yes, part of that is competition. But we've got to create competitions that they can do without having to spend thousands and thousands, if not tens and hundreds of thousands of dollars to do. So looking back, I wonder if we made some mistakes. I wonder if AI, artificial insemination, was a good thing.
Sure.
Definitely embryo transfer where you've got multiple foals is not a good thing.
Okay.
It narrows that gene pool. Again, those that are more affluent can do more breeding, and harder to compete for the grassroots people. We've got, I would like to see that, ideally, which will never happen because I'm very much a capitalist at heart, but these prices are too high. A few horses sell for too high a price, and then the good horse that people could really enjoy, you can't really hardly give away, because at the grassroots level, there's really no justification for going out and spending $20,000-$25,000 for a horse just to win on the local level, and it's not good enough to go win on the national level.
Okay, I see. I hear you.
We try to get too many people. The new people that come in, and they want to go to the nationals the first year or the second year. And they put all the money on the line for that.
Yeah.
They don't grow up being horse people and loving the horse and becoming real horse people.
Sure. And I sometimes wonder if that comes from that whole attitude of entitlement, the age that we live in, that people think it's quick and fast.
It's part of society,
Yeah.
and I'm an old timer, so I can look
Sure.
back, and you always tend to think that things were better back then, and
Sure.
and so forth. And there's a lot of great things that are happening now, but we've lost sight of the importance of those little people in the backyards
Sure.
that love their horses,
Yep.
and we've got to figure out a way to keep them more involved with their horses.
Mm-hmm.
I'm really scared about rescue and retirement of horses, and as a racehorse trainer today, I
Sure.
see a lot of that from the track, but I also see a lot of abandonment for these show horses, and
Sure.
and with the economy the way it is, we've
It's a
got to
challenge.
figure these things out.
Yeah. We almost have to reinvent ourselves.
I think we've got to really, needs to be a think tank of leaders where we say, where are we going? Where do we want our industry to be 50 years from now?
Sure.
What do we want our horses to look like 50 years from now?
Wow.
What classes do we want them to compete in, instead of creating classes for those that aren't good enough for the ones that we have now?
Sure.
Set ideals, set specs.
Okay.
And work together towards them. And yes, there needs to be reward for those people that attain that model of perfection,
Okay.
and so forth.
Okay. Well, I appreciate your time today, Gene.
It was very fun. And
I really do.
Okay, Duane.
It's a pleasure to have
All
you.
right, thank you.
This is Duane Esser reporting from Railside Report for Railside Report at the Scottsdale Arabian Horse Show.